Hey, what's up, guys? Another build video for you guys. Welcome to Eviscerator Gaming. This build is going to be a crowd control build. You hear people saying crowd control is what they're talking about. It's basically a status build with the maximum amount of status that you can put on an enemy. Now, with most of my builds, I like to stick to, I mean, this is pretty much a support build. So it basically has one basic function, and you should be using this particular build for that function. Now, there are, like I always say, there are always the different types of build combinations that you can make that will allow you to do different things with this type of build. You can change the chest piece or do whatever, but most of this build is for status effects and is very useful in situations where you have a lot of, the spawn points of enemies. You can catch them at the door as they're spawning, and also for where missions where there aren't a lot of wide space for them to spread out, the enemies to spread out. You want to catch them before they start spreading out. But I'll get right to it. I mean, with the build, we'll start with the weapons. This particular build, I'm using a Scorpio. And because it's a status build, it's perfect for that. It has a septic shot. It comes with shotgun damage, damage to armor, critical hit damage. In this particular build, the total damage is 564.1k, which we're not really worried about because what we're doing is we're applying status effects so our team members can kill the enemy. So this has septic shock on it that has the shooting a target applies stacks of venom, which lasts for 10 seconds. Increasing stacks adds more severe debuffs to the target. The first shot is poison. Third shot is disorient. The sixth shot is a shock. And target takes additional 20% damage from all sources. Stacks no longer increase. Now, duration of status effects is based on percentage of pellets hit on applying shot. So that means that, you want to be close range and you want a nice spread. That's not, you're not going to miss any shots where the pellets are going to be totally going to the enemy. All right, the next weapon I have here is the Everlasting Gaze, MK17, and it's got the rifle damage on here, and it really doesn't matter what core attributes or what attributes that you have on here, because the only thing you're using it for is perfect perpetuation. Headshots grant plus 50% status effect damage and duration to the next status effect you apply. Now, you can't switch from this weapon. If you switch from this weapon, you will lose perfect perpetuation. Now, that doesn't mean you can't switch to a skill. You just can't switch to another weapon. So if you switch to your primary or your pistol, you will lose perfect perpetuation. Now, for the pistol, I'm using the TDI custom high-end, which it has in sync hitting an enemy grants 15% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 15% weapon damage for 5 seconds, and damage increases are double while both buffs are active at the same time. Now, I added this particular talent to this weapon because, I'm getting that additional skill tier, which is important for this particular build because I'm only rocking with 5 yellows. Now, you could put the P17, not P17, but the launcher on here, the technician launcher on here to add that 6 skill tier if you're missing it, but I chose the KDI and there's a reason for that. Now for the mask, I'm using a Val mask. The Val mask gives you toxic delivery. Status effects also apply damage over time debuff for 10 seconds, and total damage dealt is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade damage and increased by your status effect attributes. Again, the ongoing theme in this build is status effects, because the more status effects you have, the longer your status effects will be on the enemy, and the longer the toxic delivery will be on that particular target, or those targets in this case with this build. Now with the chest piece, of course, I'm using a 4-piece Eclipse protocol because with 2 pieces, I get 15% status effects. With 3 pieces, I get 15% skill haste and 30% hazard protection. And with 4 pieces, I get the indirect transmission, where your status effects now spread on kill to all enemies within 10 meters and refresh 50% of the duration. Now with the chest piece, you get proliferation, which increases indirect transmission range from 10 meters to 15 meters and refresh percentage from 50% to 75%. That 75% is important because that means that when an enemy dies, it's going to cause the indirect transmission, and that indirect transmission will be 75% of the refresh rate. And also, you're going to get an extra 5 meters for the indirect transmission with the chest piece. So I always recommend that if you're going to do a build like this, to at least have that Eclipse protocol chest piece. Now, of course, I'm putting 10% skill duration on all my pieces that I can put them on. So, of course, the chest piece, the mask, and also the backpack have skill duration. Of course, the holster has status effects, skill tier, status effects, skill tier on the knee pads, as well as the gloves. And for the backpack, I'm using a Golan gear backpack because it has that 10% status effects. Again, an additional 10% status effects with the Golan gear. And this particular piece, I rolled Creeping Death because when you apply a status effect, it is also applied to all enemies within 8 meters of your target. Now, you would be wondering, like, why would you put Creeping Death if you have the indirect transmission? Because when you first shoot someone, of course, with these builds, it's always a case of whether you get the proc after a kill or you get it upon, shooting a target. Well, in this particular case, you have both. You have the indirect transmission, so when you kill a target, you get the status effect spread. And then you have Creeping Death, that when you initially shoot, it's going to spread out those status effects. And then when your team members kill them, then you're going to get another spread of status effects because of indirect transmission. So you have both. So you have on kill and also on shot. Okay. Now this has a cooldown of 15 seconds, so use it sparingly. Just pay attention to how you're deploying your skills. All right. And for the skills, I have burn sticky bomb skill, of course, because this is going to give you a status effect. Now it's going to give you this particular one. I have tier 6 because if you notice, if you look at my character's hand, he's holding the pistol in his hand. So it's going to show you that additional skill tier that you get from the KDI pistol, and it's going to give you the 60% burn damage, 120% burn duration, and 90% skill haste. And for the mods, I have on here the duration 7.5%, which is the maxed out mod for this, as well as burn duration, because what we really care about is how long the status effects last, because it's the longer that's on them, the more it gives your team more of a chance to kill them while they have the status effect, which will give you indirect transmission, and so on and so forth, and it just keeps spreading. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And then I have the Chem launcher, riot foam Chem launcher. This is especially important for this build because you can stop the enemies in their tracks. And because I have tier 6, I have the +6 ammo, and snare health is 300%, 60% is snare duration, and 30% radius. Now this is a little tricky to deploy because you have to make sure that there's a line to target when you actually aim this. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting your ammo. Now for the mods here, I have ensnare health. Now I used to put in snare duration because of course with this build, you want the status effect to last as long as possible. But what I found was that when I'm using this against bosses and chungas or any enemy that has a lot of armor, they usually are able to break the ensnare prior to the duration of the ensnare. So I would put ensnare health, and usually that means it lasts longer on the enemies that I'm shooting, because normally I would use this on a boss or a chunga. But instead of in duration I'm going for that ensnare health. And of course, since I do have an extra slot, I will use duration instead of ammo. All right, and for the crossbow, I'm using a crossbow for my signature weapon because, of course, if you look into the survivor list, you will see that you get that extra 10% bonus damage to targets with status effects. So, of course, I'm, again, squeezing as much as I can out of this build and adding that additional damage for teammates because this is a support role build. It's specifically for providing status effects and trying to spread it out. I've used this build, I use it mainly in legendary missions when there's several enemies and they're usually spawning from the same point. So, but you can use it pretty much any mission that you know where the spawn points are and you're in position to catch them spawning in one door, and you just foam them right there, and they're stuck. And with the additional duration and everything you get from all the other pieces from your gear, you usually have enough time to just wipe them all out there at the door. Okay. And of course, you get that while in cover gain 10% skill haste. So whenever possible, always try to deploy your skills while you are in cover. So that's pretty much it for the build. You know, you can, even though I'm using the incendiary grenade, I can cause the fire damage there, the burn damage, but I can also use the pulse, because the jammer pulse also applies disrupt, which is a status effect, and the Vile Mask can take advantage of that, and you get toxic delivery. So with, like I said, again, with each build that you make, you always want to, especially a build that specifically for one purpose, you want to squeeze out as much as you can from the talents, and take advantage of the talents that you have on your build, and to get the most out of everything that you have on your build. So again, you know, the chest piece, you know, I've seen people use glass cannon with Hana U, which is another thing that you could use. You can use a Golan chest piece with glass cannon, and it'll give you that extra damage. But that would be another build, and a more complex build where you're looking at hybrids, and that's not really what I'm trying to do here. What I'm actually trying to give you is just a basic crowd control build that you can use. You can go to, you know, you can support your team, you know, if they need something like that, if they're asking for it, you have it and it's available. Not necessarily something that I would use for a raid, but for a regular mission or invaded mission or something like that, or even in the summit where you have a lot of enemies coming at you at once, and it doesn't require a specific tactic to get past that certain area, then yeah, this is something that you would use. All right. So that's about it. I'll be heading down to the range so you guys can take a look and see how this actually works out. But, you know, while you're watching, don't forget to like and subscribe or follow or wherever you're watching this, because you know, I'll post this everywhere. Again, it's Eviscerator Gaming. I do have a couple of other build videos that you guys can watch, DPS and stuff like that for getting into the raid. But I will be making other videos, but just check it out and enjoy.
let Wilson get away.